This is Arise News. We interrupt this program for a live event.
So from Mr. President's footprint, global footprint, you can see where the interest is, you can see where the conversations are going. I myself was in the UAE just last week, as I mentioned earlier. And then with AFCFTA, it's interesting that you mentioned that point because when we were in Addis about 3 weeks ago, it was said that Ethiopia had a wheat surplus last year. And yet, African countries are struggling to import wheat from Europe and being affected by the war in Ukraine. So that session at the AU ended up really talking about how AFCFTA will practicalize the movement of agricultural produce across borders, which is some of the work I was alluding to when I was speaking. It's already started. How we would have the tariff schedules that would allow produce to move freely across the payment systems, the customs procedures, the immigration rules, the value chains, all the things that would need trade to be facilitated. And so we're very mindful of that, and that's why we're prioritizing exports, that's why we're prioritizing AFCFTA and other relationships across the globe, including the Global South and other new friends, while retaining our strategic partners and relationships from time immemorial. So Mr. Sonny Daniel of Vanguard newspapers, attracting investments, it definitely needs a conducive environment and conducive tariffs. That's why we continue to push and work with the fiscal side and the monetary side of the government to make sure that we are the champions for trade in government, we're the champions for industry. We continue to work with other agencies. As you know, from PEPEC, I was working with over 50 federal agencies on ease of doing business, the people issues, the processes, and transparency. So this is very close to my heart. I continue to engage and to ask for other pathways and to make sure that as a government we don't have unintended consequences. So it's communication that is key, and we'll continue to do that. So Mr. Chief, the collaboration and communication again with other MPs, I just touched on this. For power, I was just talking with the Honourable Minister of Power just yesterday at FEC, and a lot of the work that he's been doing that is already beginning to bear fruit, even with the painful challenges. I mean, I was saying it the other time when Richard Press kind of threw that at me, power, and I said we're working on it, and that's just the truth, we're working on it. And we also have a lot of unconventional pathways, we have renewable energy, we have a lot of IPPs around the country, anything that private sector can do to deliver more power, to power this economy to deliver. The ministry actually has a great strategy, and I'm so glad you asked about entering the carbon credits market and all that. That's one of our targets for next quarter. So Mr. Olawale from this day, the AFCFTA agreement and dumping, so this was what Nigeria's main reason was and delayed our signing. But while we're thinking about dumping and how it would negatively, there was a time during the negotiation that the other countries had to call us out that if Nigeria is shaking, what should smaller economies say? We're the giants of Africa. Our people are entrepreneurial, they're already trading in Namibia, in Kenya, they're already everywhere. So the SCMTA just helps them to trade no more. We're not afraid of things coming into our economy. We make sure through trade facilitation and rules of origin that nothing gets done from this economy. But at the same time, we're very bullish about exporting our quality products because our products are in demand and they are good all across the continent and the world. So the cost of production, it keeps coming down when you have economies of scale, so we continue to work on that. And just watch out for the space. We're also looking into something around direct cargo flights across Africa for our traders because they trade a lot, so we can bring them together. We can bring the cost down for cargo flights and further facilitate trade. So those are the kind of things that the ministry works on. I'd just like to end with Ms. Nwachu from Business Day. Mrs. SFTA first. Definitely 5 years, we didn't start as vibrantly as we could have, but we're picking up and we're being led by our businesses, our traders, and our services. They are going ahead of government. They are already trading across Africa. So ours is to facilitate for them. We We signed the agreement, it's 5 years on. We actually announced our 5-year implementation review on the 16th of January when the Secretary General of the WTO Secretariat visited us here in Abuja. And we're strategizing on how to optimize. It's one of our main priorities of Mr. President's agenda. With that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister of State will make some interjections at this point.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Minister. By the way, I thought this was a very important initiative, and I think that the ministry needs to be commended, Minister of Information. There are some people that have had to send some messages requiring that the Honorable Minister of State for Industry speaks on certain concerns by manufacturers over matters of power, tariff, fuel customs, and all of that. Let me start by having to make some additional responses to about 2 of the issues that the Minister of Trade and Investment has already commented on. First, it has to do with the matter that somebody asked over dirty energy, and to add that in addition to what the Ministry of Power is currently doing, that just about 2 weeks ago, I initiated some beginning discussions with the IFC, the International Finance Corporation, on establishing Nigeria's carbon markets for utilization and storage, which is likely to unlock sustainable financing for industrial growth. I thought that was quite important, and I think that it's a discussion that should be able to also provide an appropriate response to alternative energy and all of that. There is a question about dumping, and I mean, at the beginning of this engagement, the minister had talked about, the beginning of a nationwide industrial push, which has already taken me to one zone in the country. And among the industries visited so far, there is a common trend that I already find, and that has to do with the struggle of our local manufacturers, against unfair competition by those who keep smuggling goods that are produced in climes that the producers themselves benefit from a lot of incentives, unfair competition by goods that are smuggled, most of them substandard. And I mean, that is one of the reasons for the inauguration of the Industrial Revolution Work Group, which is a one-stop group, setting that has in it, officials of the customs, finance, all related and relevant agencies that I think that you don't need to go too far to try to provide some common solutions to the challenges that manufacturers and industrialists are facing. And now, in terms of, the concerns of manufacturers and industry players on a number of these issues, and then what the government has done to try to support manufacturers. Let me just call attention to the fact that early in the life of this administration, Mr. President provided a 200 billion naira intervention that was meant for 50 billion of that was meant for nano businesses as grants, and then 75 billion for MSMEs, another 75 billion for manufacturers. I think that that provision, that intervention, is still being managed by the Bank of Industry. Let me also say that, one of the things that government and the ministry is currently looking at and pursuing is on how to get our manufacturers to benefit from an appropriate, pricing of gas. I think that this is likely going to be the game changer, that our manufacturers and our industrialists are also able to purchase gas the same way that it's done, in mostly, some other sectors of our economy. And I think that when this happens, a lot of the matters about cost are going to be brought down. Finally, of course, we are aware that as of last week, a certain 4% charge that was begun by the customs and all that was withdrawn, was stopped by this government. And I think that these and many more are most of the things that government continues to do to enable a viable, and strategic industrial sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, my brother, Mr. John Ona, and the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke. Let me thank you, members of the media and the general public, for coming here. Let me reiterate that we will continue to bring ministers here to engage with you, to let you know what government or this administration is doing. This is the job of the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation. We don't construct roads here. We don't build hospitals. But we talk and we engage, and that is exactly what we are doing. We will continue to talk, we will continue to engage, we will continue to answer your questions, we will continue to enlighten you about the programs and policies of this administration. Next week, God willing, we're bringing 2 ministers also here to talk to you, and you have the opportunity to engage them, to ask them questions. Now, the goal is that by the time that the administration clocks 2 years, on May 29th, you will have had the opportunity of listening to all the ministers and make your assessment. Every minister will come and engage with Nigerians from this platform on activities and programs of government. Keep a date with us. We'll continue to inform you and we'll continue to engage you. Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, I want to thank once again Dr. Jumoke and my brother here, the Minister of State, for finding time to come. Of course, they are going to leave you with some literature so that you can also continue to ask questions even after we leave this place. Thank you, the Special Advisor to the President. I'm seeing so many Special Assistants. Mr. Tunde Rahman has come in here. The Permanent Secretaries, all of you, thank you very much. Keep a date with us as we engage with you next week. Over to you.
Couldn't have signed out any better. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please, may we please rise as we take the national anthem. With that, we've come to the end of this press conference. Thank you.